Hello and welcome or welcome back to Talking About Cross Stitch with me. I'm Karen, the Stitching Owl, and welcome to June. May slid by so fast for all of us. Many of us had special May challenges we were including, and we are now wrapping things up and going forward. And it's not that far away from, yes, Jolly July with Christmas. But for now, June and the hope of warming temperatures. Indeed. So I'd like to say thank you for pressing play today. I really do appreciate you taking the time to say hi to me. I know that my videos are never the short 12-minute kind, and that your time is precious. So thank you. Thank you for being here. And if this is your first time, I hope that you'll stay for a while and see if what I stitch is of interest to you, and if you could perhaps press like and subscribe, and then I do love it when you leave comments. I truly do. I was recently watching the Two Tall Stitchers, which of course is Jennifer and Carol, and they were asking the question, how many times, how often are you actually searching for things to buy and actually buying? And they said, there's no shame here. We're just curious. And I have to admit that I stopped to think about it and went, whoa, when you get down to it, I stitch most Saturdays with my friends at Stitch It Central. And I would say every week there's at least one floss being purchased, and many weeks much more than that. And that doesn't include the Etsy purchases, and I've started to go to the quilt shops with my friend CJ, and yes, hobbies are a thing. So I'm curious, could you put in the comments below, how often are you searching for new patterns or fabric and fun? So thank you to Jennifer and Carol for that interesting question that I just absconded from you. Now, at this point, I usually say, let's talk about the weather, and I am talking about my specialty stitches stitching temperature chart that has been created by Sarah, the Stitchin' Mommy. I did not take this particular project along with me. This past weekend, I was at Peely Island with my husband, the beginning of June. It is a traditional weekend for running a half marathon, and Jeff had every plan to do this until he required surgery for a stuck kidney stone 9 days before. When he woke up, he asked, so can I run? And the surgeon said, you might want to think that. I just put in a stent. So yes, so we are fortunate that he's certainly improving. He did not run the race. When it comes to the weather, that was one of the chilliest weekends we've ever had on Peely Island. I do record my temperatures at 12 noon wherever I am that day, because it's what my experience on this earth is. So we were putting on the heater, not the air conditioner, and we stayed in a lot of the time, which prevented a lot of bug bites. And yes, I would say it allowed for stitchy time, but I didn't stitch as much because I wanted the weekend to be about us being away together. And Jeff is so supportive of my hobbies. I don't ever want him to feel replaced. So I will not be showing my temperature chart today, but I will get caught up, and I am looking forward to the rice stitch. I was watching Sarah's Flosstube tutorial last night and thinking, oh, this is a pretty stitch for June. I really want to do it. So my Send a Smile, the good news is that Canada Post is not on strike. Now, they are not willing to do overtime, but we are definitely getting our delivery, which is fabulous. So I am going to resume some of my Send a Smile program. But I will also admit that there are some of my sends that I'm going to use an alternative route, particularly to my friends in the United States, to ensure they actually get their especially when it might be models for a certain Mudpuppy. So that, I even found a box for that send. So I'm very excited to go to the courier that Edvard uses and try them out. Canada Swaps 3 has been announced. I put out a video just before I left last week. Now, this does mean that if you have already responded, you will not have an email back from me quite yet, but please don't despair. I'm hoping that by the end of today, I will have reached out to everybody who has already shown interest, and that sometime tomorrow I will send out an email to everybody who has participated in the past in case they didn't notice that I had a video. Not everybody touches that bell to know when one of my videos comes up, so it is possible that some people don't realize that I have got this going. I am very excited to have my first male participant. Yes, indeed. Welcome Sheldon of Sheldon and Stitches, who presides in Winnipeg. I am so glad that you're going to join us and you're going to add to your smalls collection. I'm really excited for you. So our theme this time is the seasons, meaning summer, winter, spring, and fall. So for those people that are participating, I am wanting you to let me know by the middle of June so that by the 20th, I can let you know who you're sending to and what their favorite season is. When you are sending me this and when you're picking out your patterns, I'm going to request that you be season specific, not seasonal. That is a whole other thing to do Christmas, Easter, Hanukkah, patriotic, and that might be something that I do in the future as a theme. This time it is specific to being winter, spring, summer, and fall. The plan, of course, is to send these out Labor Day weekend or before that. And I am looking forward to seeing what everybody stitches. Before I start, I'm going to actually say there's a few Flosstubers that I am regularly referring to. And rather than every time I say their name saying they're Flosstube, I'm going to actually say these people ahead of time, and then when their name gets thrown in, I know that you know who I'm talking about and that they will be listed in my description box below. So far, I have been fortunate enough to have live links 95% of the time. I know that there's been some inconsistencies, so if for some reason a link doesn't take you directly to a channel, please copy and paste and that will help you. So here is my short list, but not just these people. I will refer to others. So Lisa of Forest City Stitching, Laura of Stitching by the Shore, Mary of Mary's Stitching Corner, Kim, Contented Needleworker Kim, Amy Renewing Stitches, Melanie and Michael of Uplift Stitches, Katie, Jeremiah's mom, Lee of Stick Strings and Other Things, Charlie, Stitching with Charlie, and Karen D, who is soon to be the Twitchy Stitcher. So there will be other mentions, but I will just be using first names going forward for that group. And I just wanted to ensure that if this was one of your first couple of times that you are viewing, that you know who I'm talking about, and might, if you found somebody on that list that you were not aware of, go and search them out. Now, for me, May was Mudpuppy Mania. Kenzie is both a designer as well as a Flosstuber and does not have enough hours in the day to work full-time as well as design and stitch all the things, and then she loves to crochet too, so I want to help her out and stitch some models for her. So earlier in the month you saw Barred Owl and Blueberries. You know that I have been stitching Bourkes Parakeets. Now, you can see that I've got the full bird in, the top of this is complete. So now today I put in this leaf. It doesn't look like much of a leaf, but there is 129 stitches in that. Yes, so I have more flowers to do here, and then it will be finished off. I'm trying to give Kenzie a fair amount of fabric here so that she will be able to fully finish it in any way that she would like. I am stitching on 40 count Verdal, and I will have to put the exact color of Roxy Floss Co. fabric in the description box below because I can't bring it to mind. I'm using one strand and getting full coverage for that. And I would say, are those colors not astounding? I think they're fabulous. So here, the pattern is 80 by 101. I am at 3,180 stitches, which is 79%. My aim is to focus on this most afternoons this week in the hopes that I can get it done by the end of the week and then send 3 pieces to Kenzie. Now, I also started Gold Among the Flowers, which is goldfinches, and I'm going to put the mock-up up here. Because, yes, mine does not look like that yet. Now, just to clarify, I think you can see that this was the shape of a belly going into a crest, and that I'm on the same fabric that I did my Bourkes Parakeets in. So I'm continuing to do one strand. So this is 304 stitches. So I do have my minimum. We are always making sure. So those of us that stitch with Sandy on Sundays, and Sandy, I will get to another one of our meetings soon. We sort of try to make sure there's at least 200 stitches in. I tend to go to 300 to try and get something recognizable, but sometimes it's a crest or a folded wing. But I'm very pleased to get my goldfinches started, and my kites did not get started last week as expected. And the reason that it didn't get started is that I focused on a finish of Tufted Titmouse. Is this not gorgeous? I am so pleased. It's stunning. I'm just going to move it in. Okay, so Tufted Titmouse has been stitched on a 36 count even weave. That is a hand dyed by Rolanda. Again, it is one strand of DMC. I know with 36 count, it's a personal choice whether you do one strand or 2. Please do whatever you are comfortable with. This pattern is 119 by 102 and uses 18 colors. I think those 18 colors have been put to great use here. As a totality, this was a quick stitch for me. It wasn't that long ago that Kim and I started this. And I do think it's an unnamed 36 count hand dyed, but I think that the bird just shows up enough and is amongst those absolutely gorgeous pink flowers. Kenzie, fabulous, fabulous patterns. So I touched on 4 different Mudpuppy patterns in May, completed 2, have another one well on the way, another start, and I will start the kite later on this week. I have to admit that I have been doing more stitching on 25 count even weave lately, and I have begun to wonder what one of Kenzie's raptors would look like if it was done on 25 count. So I think I'm going to do the kite on 36 count and then ask Kenzie which one she'd like me to try on 25. So Kenzie, are you listening? Think about it. Okay, so now let's continue on. Where am I? Well, I'm up to a shout out. Jen's Stitchy Corner. Jen has one video and comes to us from across the pond. She has 7 whips right now, and like me and Charlie, loves to stitch animals and nature. Her FFO from childhood is adorable. I hope you'll go check her out. I was able to pick up the magazine monthly acrostic as well as the I Spy challenges of Laura. I do thank Katie for making it so easy for me to catch what those are now that I'm off Facebook. Let's talk Whip Go. My second pull for May was the Snowflower Diaries. So I purchased row 4 on Etsy of something called Spooky Love, which is like a Halloween sampler or 20 ornaments. So I started the Halloween kitten on like a Zoom call with friend Michelle as well as Karen of KBH Stitches. So you can see my kitten is going to be behind a pumpkin. This particular fabric, I think, is a 20 count. This is one of those that you just get tiny ends from the sewing spot, and I get like 10 of them for $12 when I'm at Stitch North, and then I just have fun seeing what the ornaments are that will go on each one of these. So in here, this ornament will ultimately be 63 by 61 and uses 8 colors of DMC. I have 411, yes, 411 stitches, which is 26.9%. This is a very easy stitch, and I'm looking forward to doing actually most of them in, I think there's 5 in my pattern. It was very reasonably priced, and right now there's a 10% off for the Etsy shop, Snowflower Diaries. Hello, sweetheart. I guess he bowed. The pup is happy that we're home. Puppy stays behind with our youngest child and very much misses her daddy time. So I will continue to work on this particular one as I can.
Did you want a ducky stick going down here?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
You don't want a ducky stick?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm sure Lola enjoyed the ducky stick. So when I do my Whip Go, which is the brainchild of Jessie Marie Does Stuff, my aim is just to get started on these. I would love to get them finished, but it's not mandatory. And I would super love to get everything fully finished, but I think I'm dreaming. So I put that as a successful Whip Go, even though it is clearly not all the way done. My next pull, my first pull of June for Whip Go is Hands-On Design. In 2024, on the Super Bowl Sunday, Lindy Stitches, gotta write that down. She ran the Superb Owl. It was just a one-day retreat, and one of the things that we got there is Kathy Haberman of Hands-On Design joined her that day, and she gave us some little owls called the Owl Parliament, and I have not had time to stitch those because I've been busy stitching other owls. So I'm going to pick one of those owls and start that this week so that I am up to date with that Whip Go. Now, when I go to fully finished objects, I'm going to combine this with Whip Go because I fully finished my Spring Angel of Courre, Battecouri. So I did these finishes at the cottage and did not take my beading kit. So these are just simply blanket stitched around, and there is 3 layers of comic book board in there, 2 under the laced cross stitch and 1 under the fabric back. Now I do admit that I am very tempted to purchase different colors of felt and blanket stitch felt onto the back of my ornaments. I think it might be a little easier on my hands. There are times that it's actually really hard to get the needle through the 3. So I'm going at the side of the 3 layers, but it's still a little bit tricky at times. And as I get older, I need to watch my hands because I want to be able to play the piano. So this was my finish, and because of that, this was one of my Whip Goes. So that means that my Whip Go sheet now looks like this. So I've got 4 yellow boxes, meaning those are fully finished. And I do have 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That made more sense. 10 boxes that are successful starts for Whip Goes in the first 5 months. And if there's a full X, that means, so an X plus a plus, that means that I not only started it, I actually finished the stitch. I just haven't fully finished the whole ornament. So I'm very happy with how my Whip Go is going. Every so often I do wonder how I'm going to include everything, but then I realize, oh no, I was smart and said I was just going to start the things for Whip Go. So that is concluding Whip Go, but I'm going to continue with fully finished items. Now I have to admit that I've had these moments where I've been watching my friends like Mary. You need to watch Mary's latest video. Her fully finished items are astounding. And Sally of Flossie Sews and Grows and Helen D, they've all been digging into their boxes or however they keep their finished items and saying, I must get the fully finishes in. So I am saying I need to do that too. And on the weekend, I fully finished 3 of my Patchwork Calendars. The Patchwork Calendar is by Owl Forest Embroidery. I have been jumping all over the months. I think I had previously finished March, and I think I've got April, May, and maybe July here. But you can see, so if I hold them up close, so I have beaded my top, but not beaded around the side. My sides are simply blanket stitched, and then I've got this colorful backing on each of those 3. So this one has the snails, this one has the butterflies, and this one has the bunnies. So I'm always using a variegated thread, but I am not being consistent with the brand. I have used Valdani, I've used DMC, I've used Roxy Floss Co. And I think I've used some, one of them was started in an unnamed, I have no clue what it is. But I am enjoying using the variegated floss. And when it's possible for me to do Monochrome Monday, this is what I am stitching on. It's just sometimes I don't quite get to it. So you're not going to see my May calendar done because it's not even halfway yet. But I will keep working at it. And these are all being stitched on a 25 count even weave with 1 strand over 1. Okay, so that was both Whipco and fully finished objects. Now my finished objects, you've already seen the first one with Tufted Titmouse. But I am actually very, very pleased because I decided to just take one day. I did one day where I just went ham on Tufted Titmouse and did almost 1,000 stitches on it. And I did one day where I finished my Raccoon. So this is Country Cottage Needleworks. This is part of A Year in the Gardens Year 1. Year 2 is going to have a full 12 animals. And the first release is, I believe, now available, the wolf, in the needlework shops. Now, I do put these patterns into my program PC Stitch so that I can put them into Pattern Keeper, because I do find Country Cottage Needleworks patterns using gray and beige scale hard for my eyes that are over the age of 60. So with the Raccoon, let's see. So I'm stitching this on a 36 count even weave, hand dyed by Rolanda with 1 strand. So these patterns are mostly DMC, but include 2 weeks dye works, so that there is an element of variegation in something. So in this one, the pink for the flowers is one of the variegated, and one of the grays in the Raccoon was the other variegated. So let me see, is there anything else that I've got here? It's a total of 7,299 stitches, and both the Raccoon and the bear are 100 by 130 in size. And speaking of the bear, I got it done too. He was so cute. Now, this bear is solid here and quite stitch heavy, but is easy stitching because you can do 2 or 3 full strands before needing to change color in many cases. Now the bear is the same size, but it's a total of 8,088 stitches. The bear has only 8 colors of floss, 6 DMC, and 2 weeks dye works. So of course, I started these with Alyssa Jones, who is on Flosstube. Now I know that she's a very busy teacher and doesn't have the ability to post as often as I do, but we sure enjoy her when she's able to post. So now at this point, the question is, what am I doing next? Well, my next move here is to start putting into PC Stitch another one of those patterns. So Lee of Stick Strings and Other Things has every one of the 12 patterns. And I would like to invite her to pick one of the other animals, and could we start it together? Maybe? I hope so. I'm going to have her pick one of the other animals. I have most of them. I have to admit that I'm not planning to do, at this point, the woodpecker or the eagle. But I am hoping to do the other 10, and I'm looking forward to what's coming up next. So, Lee, the next time we stitch together, we'll see what we come up with. So I am very, very pleased with those finishes. There was a fair amount of stitching left, but it was straightforward stitching, and you're not changing colors that often. Okay, my next shout out is for Rose Cottage Creates. Emma has 4 videos and records in Wales. She is a lover of family as well as seasonal stitching and decorating, of course, with it. She started her stitching hobby in embroidery and has now expanded to cross stitch using both printed cross stitch kits as well as counted cross stitch. So I hope you'll check her out. Works in progress. Well, I had a panicky moment earlier today when I went, what did I do with this? I know I worked on it today and then I couldn't find it, not realizing I had already brought it down to the table and put it on a board and everything that I'm supposed to do. I looked high and low upstairs, but nope, it was downstairs already. So what am I talking about? Heron at Dawn. Now, Heron at Dawn was something that I was using for the H in Mahogany of last month's acrostic for the Magazine Monthly. I'm sure you're noticing that I haven't really gotten to this month's Magazine Monthly because I just watched Katie in the middle of the night, got home yesterday from Peely, and now I'm making my video, so I haven't really gotten to thinking about it much. I do know that Candy Store is the theme and that Sweets is where we're going. So this is a pigeon coop design. And you can see that he's a flamingo right now almost because he's standing on one leg, but I did get the rest of his body in and this leg. So this pattern is 70 by 110 and uses 17 colors. It is friendly to any kind of fabric you want. So far I haven't had any partial stitches at all, so if you're an Aida lover, this works for you very nicely. I am using a hand dyed by Rolanda mauve that I don't have the name of, and it is a Verdal, so I'm using one strand of DMC, always called for when I'm doing something like birds. I'm not as adventurous as Kim. I don't rechart the colors of birds. I will do flowers, I will do trees, I'll do lots of things, but I don't do the birds themselves. I don't rechart full coverage either for colorings. So I have 2,233 stitches done, which is 70%. And I am stitching this with Connie, Melanie, Mary, and Laura, who all are completely finished. I'm the one that is a bit of a caboose, but I'm okay with that because I've got lots of birds in my life right now. And at this point, what I just have to do is finish the bottom part of these wings and then water droplets. So this, if I can take it out 2 or 3 times, should be finished, but I am not going to guarantee that because we all know what it's like to guarantee a finish on Flosstube. That usually guarantees it won't happen. So that was Heron at Dawn by Pigeon Coop Designs, and I will soon be starting Boreal Forest with Mary, and anybody else who would like to join in the fun, please just let me know either in the comments below or via email, because we love to stitch together when we start these things. Now, I will admit that the group of us that stitch together midweek are all available sort of midday, perhaps because we're retired or part-time workers type thing. I do some stitching on the weekends online, but mostly my stitching is in person on Saturdays, and then Sundays I'm hoping to get back to doing Sandy's again. Now, what else did I do? Well, with everything I'm doing, yes, I had to start. So if you watch Laura Stitching by the Shore, you will know that she was showing the front of the Summer Just Cross Stitch 2025 version, where there was the cutest chameleon sitting there, and so she decided to start with Charlie to help celebrate Charlie's birthday. And I thought, well, it looks like fun. So I popped it into PC Stitch just to make it so I could just carry one thing with me. I have my Just Cross Stitch online in my, I was going to say Pattern Keeper. No, it's Press Reader, which is like a Libby app. So I can read multiple quilting and cross stitch magazines, and I can save the magazine for like 6 months so I can actually stitch those things. But I still like to put it into Pattern Keeper because it's a little easier for me. Now, Charlie had a birthday last month, and she was inviting people to stitch something of nature to help her celebrate. So the weekend after her birthday was when she was celebrating with her family. So that weekend I would start something and say, oh, look, there's a butterfly. Happy birthday, Charlie. Oh, look, there's a dog. Happy birthday. So Charlie, you got happy birthday many times because almost everything I do has flora or fauna in it somewhere. So I hope you had a wonderful weekend. And the chameleon, Laura is running a name the chameleon type situation. And if you think he's a girl, if you think she's a girl, Carmen seems to be somewhat popular. For me, if it's a boy, it would be Clarence. That's my dad's name. And I think he'd approve because he likes playing with color. So now this is how far I got my chameleon. I took a moment this morning to put in the eye here. He looks somewhat strange because I was missing this. I got away this weekend. I took this because I'm doing it on a 20 count Aida, and I knew that regardless of whether it was sunny or overcast, I'd be able to see the Aida cloth, and it was overcast. At the cottage we go to, we have a beautiful enclosed patio. It's a deck where they have netted it all around so you don't end up bitten by bugs. And they've put a garden swing in there with a 3/4 sized mattress so you can swing away. Jeff can read, and I can stitch with sunlight, and hummingbirds and bumblebees are buzzing away. We saw a red fox. I might put a picture of that room up here. It's one of the highlights. This weekend it was a little nippy, so we had to take out heating blankets to actually be out there, and it was not particularly bright. So when I'm doing this, I am using the called for colors in the chameleon, and I apologize if I ever call him a gecko. For some reason it's on my head. When it comes to the flowers, I might be a little bit more spontaneous, and I'm also like Laura in that I'm not going to do everything down here. I'm not doing a full circle. I'm going to actually have it go flat here so that I can make a stand up. Let me see, what can I tell you about this? The chameleon is by Cara Brown. It is 76 by 76 if you do all of the motifs. I have finished 1,539 stitches, which is 69%, but I've already colored in the flowers and such that are down there, so I haven't really stitched that many X's. It's just that's how far I am in the pattern for how much I'm planning to do. And I think that's what I wanted to tell you about that. So it is a fun and quick stitch because, again, there's not a huge amount of colors, and when you're doing a color, you can do a reasonable amount of it before you have to change. Okay, and now that takes me to Cabin in the Woods by Flossabilities. Okay, which is this one. So it doesn't have quite as much progress as I wanted, but I wasn't sure about stitching on charcoal Aida while I was in a situation where I thought it was going to be overcast, and indeed it was, so it didn't go with me even though it was Aida. Now, this particular stitch I'm doing with Mary, as well as Stitchy Sally and Flossie Sews and Grows, and I think I'm woefully behind everybody again. I'm using one strand of DMC. I'm at 3,140 stitches, and that makes it 35% done. So I'm getting more of the ground in. There's a few more stars, and I've started this tree. My plan was to have this tree in, and it didn't happen, but it will be a priority for next time. I know that I almost called it Shanty on the Shore. Beach house on the beach? Oh my. There's a new Flossabilities chart. And I can't remember the specific title. Ouch. And Lee and I believe Mary and Lisa and Laura and I are starting it later this month to celebrate the beginning of summer. Now, my available date for starts is Thursday, and it might be the official beginning of summer is a Friday, so we might be just shifting it by a little bit, but I'm not worried. I had hoped originally to have this finished before I started. It's going to bother me that I can't remember that title. You know which one I mean. I don't think that this one will be done, but I'm not going to let myself get worried about it. I am enjoying stitching on it, and I do think that these trees are just so splendid. So it's just a matter of somebody locating a 40 or 50 hour day, and then I'll get to everything that I want to get to. Butterfly and Flowers, the Purple Emperor, is my next work in progress. Wow, I'm still on Peely time where we take off our watches and don't care. This particular piece is a Durene Jones chart. I'm going to put up the picture. The chart is 140 by 140. But I'm not doing the whole thing because I'm doing an arched effect. I'm stitching with Amy, Karen D, Laura, Mary, and Rachel Q stitches, and we are all having great fun. I think we pretty much all started in different places. Okay, so where am I? You are starting to see what I mean about having an arch. Now this here isn't fully there, and it's going to go down farther, but you can see what I mean. My goal this past week was to get in the outline of the flowers, and then I was going to start the pink, and I also got that green flower, that green leaf in. Of course, I looked at the mock-up and then realized, there's another flower here, so I'm going to put the black in here, and then I'll work on putting the pink flowers in, the 3 pink flowers, over the next 2 weeks. Now, I'm doing this with 1 strand of DMC on 20 count Aida, except for the black is CXC. Because it's that little bit thicker, it makes it so that when you look at this, you're seeing black, even though I'm stitching on white. When you look at my owl, the reason that my black looks so black with DMC is I stitched on charcoal black. That way, if any of the fabric showed through, it didn't affect my stained glass effect. So that is my way of making the stained glass be as black as it is with CXC thread. And I must admit that Joy at one of my stitching buddies on Saturdays has gifted to me a Heaven and Earth design. Now it's a mini, but of course, it's cats, which my daughter loves. So we're thinking of sort of doing this stitch together. And I'm thinking of using CXC thread so that we can stitch maybe on 18 count, which would be where my daughter's more comfortable, but I don't know. I might try her on 20, see what she thinks. That's something for July. I'm not going to start it quite yet, but yes. I might put a picture of the cat in here. It's lots of cats. And of course, full coverage. Okay, next is Spook Haunt by Hello from Liz Matthews. So again, this was a gift from, but this was from Kim at, like, we trade around our patterns. It's really so nice. And there's so many past magazines that when somebody's finished with it, they pass it around, and I'm getting a really nice collection of magazines here from the last 20 years. Literally, I know Amy would be like, oh, all those books. And I'm like, I know, if I could only ship the extras off to you without it being quite so costly. So, Spook Haunt is to celebrate halfway to Halloween, which has been hosted by Jason X Stitch. And of course, Jason's finished his, and it looks great. Now, this pattern is 155 by 68, but again, I'm not doing the whole thing because I'm just going to put up the mock-up. There's words at the bottom. I'm not doing the words at the bottom. I'm thinking I'll do them at the top, but don't hold me to it, no guarantee. And I'm taking out the black line that goes on the sides and the bottom. So I have colored in some of those in Pattern Keeper, but the ones I'm still debating about, I haven't. So, so this was on Ada, so I did take it with me to the cottage. And so you see, I actually got another ghost in and a couple more flowers. This ghost looks like I missed a chew, but really it's going to be where a flower is. So if I put it up close, this is on a 20 count. I believe it was from the one-offs. Now that I look at the whole thing, when I was at Stitch North, you could get, no, that can't be right. I have no idea where this 20 count came from then, because I started this before Stitch North. So I couldn't have gotten this piece. I did purchase some 20 count Roxy Floss Co. that was in there. We can't repeat this color, so this is the size we've got. If you want it, you can purchase it. So I always find that cool. Okay, so there are 12 colors in this, with black and white being fairly prominent. I am stitching 20 count 8, I said. 3,006 stitches equals 58.41%. But that doesn't mean I've actually stitched that many stitches because I took out the ones underneath here. My goal here, because this is like long and skinny, I think it's going to be a drum, a Halloween drum. So I am finding that a lot of fun. Now the white there is not B5200, it is winter white. 3865 might be that color. That has been a discussion amongst my stitching group on Saturdays as to which white is the best coverage and the most vibrant. And I think it depends on the effect you want, which one you want to use. But I am having fun with that. And now another shout out. Bella Rose Needleworks. Jeanette is formerly of Garnet Rose Flosstube. She started her own channel, as has Cheryl. Now, Jeanette and Cheryl are really good friends, and they continue their friendship, but they do not live close to each other, and both of them have multiple children, and Cheryl is a homeschooler. So it became a thing, an event to try to get together, and it was causing them to actually be farther and farther between their floss tubes than they really wanted to be. So each of them has started their own channel, but for all the right reasons. Now, Jeanette is a skilled stitcher, a skilled quilter, and she's a maker of project bags. She's got a lovely voice. I hope you'll go listen and watch one of her presentations. Now, next is a Rainbow Dragon. It is an Artecy AI pattern, and I'm stitching one strand, but I am doing a 25 count even weave. And thanks to this mini, so this is the Rainbow Dragon mini, not the full. I am remembering how much fun it was previously to stitch on 25 count, and I'm now going, I think I'm going to be doing more 25 count in the future. So are the X's small? Absolutely. They're small. But the holes are very easy to see because it's 25 count, easier than 28 count, and people stitch on it all the time. We don't have to worry about the over 2 accidentally being over 1 or 3. So I find it actually easier than 28 and 32. Okay, so this is where I am. I still have found that I just need the guides going up and down, not across as well. And you will see that the outline of the dragon's jaw is coming in. I have to do some here and then I'll be able to start. Now, with this, I have found that because of the way the scales have been going, that it's easier for me if I stitch mostly diagonally. And in that way, I don't have to change colors every 3 to 4 stitches. I can sometimes get a full strand in by doing a diagonal. Now, I do watch Holly the Cross Stitch Addict, and she has implored people to please do the confetti stitches as you go. She has a lovely project called Peacock Love. All that is left, she's over 90% done. All that is left is confetti stitches, but now she's looking at her work and Pattern Keeper going, I'm not even sure these things match. Oh, I should have done the confetti as I went. So I am truly trying to do that, Holly. But as is usual, when you follow up to finish off your strand, you get more confetti. I always start by saying what's my lowest open and then go on from there. But you'll see that from here down is solid. There are a lot of colors in here. I haven't counted them, but there are a lot. I have 7,582 stitches done for 28.5%. So I am over a quarter done, but clearly have a lot of stitches to go. My goal was 7,000 for today, and I did that. So let's see how far I can get before next time. The reason I've got a bit of a push on this is not that it's a model stitch in any way or shape or form, because Artecy just puts up mock-ups. But originally this was being stitched for a young man's birthday, Linda's grandson, and it was started by somebody else, and then she had to stop. Now I found that I couldn't just adopt hers. I needed to start over because she was using 2 strands, and it was actually physically hurting me to do that stitching. So in starting over, I'm still not as far right now as she was if I had been able to continue on, but I'm comfortable with where I am. And with fingers crossed, by Linda's birthday, she will have this done and framed. She has almost as much fabric on the sides as she has inside. This is the full width. It's not going to be all that big, but I am having a lot of fun. And as always, I finish off with By the Shore. which is artwork by Kaplan Dorr, charted by Stitches So Beautiful. And what was I doing this time? Well, let me show you. So first, here's what the full thing looks like. And here I am. So I filled in the rest of this. I have more of this lilac bush in. And you can see that now, last time I had no colors here, trees, and now you can see that there's two different trees being depicted here. So, and the other thing I did was I filled in every confetti stitch over here. Holly really had me thinking, I'm like, I'm gonna fill that in. Although I think on a tree, if a leaf is a slightly different color, it is more forgivable, and she's really trying to do her peacocks very precisely, and I understand that she wants the feathers to be precise. So, super pleased with this. Okay, so I have 98,494 stitches in, which is 59.78%. which means I'll reach 100,000 stitches before we're together again. And I'll put a picture, when I get to 100,000 stitches, I will put a picture on Instagram. I completed 12,137 stitches in the month of May. It was down a bit because I didn't take it to either Stitch North at the beginning of May, or the last 2 days of May were at my cabin in the woods. So yeah, so there were some days that weren't there, but I did the math, and according to my math, if I want to have this done at the 1-year anniversary, I need to do 475 stitches a day, 28 days of the month. So I'm trying to work into it that there could be days that I'm not doing this because, well, my husband and I might go away again. And as such, thank you to those people who checked on me. Multiple people checked when I didn't post on Sunday. It is so nice to be loved. Again, this month, and there will be a time next month that I will be posting late or early, depending on how things really land, specifically so that my husband and I can do day trips or go to the beach with friends and one thing and another. So thank you so much. I really appreciate those emails and direct messages. By the way, I just want to say, since we're talking full coverage, that my friend Connie well, we stitch together, but she's also on Instagram. She finished her barn full coverage, and I hope you will look up Connie Schweitzer. It's gorgeous. Congratulations, Connie. I want to do a shout out for Steph and Some Stitches. She's coming to us from Quebec, Canada. She is English as a second language, so she's actually got videos in 2 languages. She is a multi-crafter, so that includes knitting. So maybe Lisa and Lee both do knitting as well as stitching. Steph works with both stamped and counted cross stitch at this time, so I hope you'll give her a try. My May wrap up, I had 26 projects on my list this month, of which only 3 were not touched. One of the 23 projects worked on, out of the 23 projects worked on, I finished 10 and fully finished 4. I feel that my Mudpuppy mania was a success, and the stitching of birds will continue. My total number of stitches for the month of May was 41,907. I was hoping at some point to get to 40,000 in a month, and I knew it would have to be a month with 31 days in it. So there we go. So I won't go into further details because I was talking to you as we went. Now I just wanted to stop for a minute for a thought. And forgive me if I read this. I wanted to word this carefully. Over the past year, I have watched many Flosstubers. You know I glory in watching Flosstube, but they keep me company on many a sleepless night. Some Flosstubers start a channel and disappear quite quickly, while others become part of our watching lives. I have noticed that there are times that it feels like the presenters feel like they are letting people down by not stitching as much, not completing their goals, or starting to feel stressed about things. I just want to say to everyone, you be you and I be me. This is the joy of cross stitch. We each get to do it in our own way at our own pace. I love watching Sarah, Stitchin Mommy, do extreme cross-country stitching, but I know I will never be able to, for I surely cannot count. Even when I've got full coverage, I find that I still have a few miscounts, although not as many as when I have the blank spaces. I love watching people with 50 whips and more. They have such great variety in their presentations, but I know that I'm not comfortable with 50 whips yet. We'll see. I look forward to seeing Laura every single Friday. And for her, if it's not up by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I wonder what has the technical world done to her. But I also am perfectly satisfied not knowing exactly how far it is between Mary's stitches. She puts up her videos when she's got enough to show and when it's a good quiet day to make a recording. I'm fine with both ways. Some people like to stitch exactly what's on the pattern, whether it's the colors, whether it's the pattern itself. And then there's other people like Kim and I who are constantly rearranging, resetting colors. Everything is fine. You do you, and I'll do me. I really respect Sarah of Sarah's Stitchy Spot for setting down the stitching to spend time with her husband each day. And that's what I did this weekend. While I could have stitched literally 12 to 14 hours a day, the time away in Peely was not just for me to detox, but for me to have time with my husband. And so when you, as a Flosstuber, prioritize things like family and your own health, it's also good. So as we say goodbye to Mental Health May, I want to encourage everybody to take care of themselves, take care of their family, and stitch yourself happy. Please. My moment for music today, I am returning to a composer you've heard before, Edvard Grieg, who is one of the Norwegian composers that there's not that many from Norway that are really well known, but he's definitely the one that people recognize the name of. He was a romantic composer who was absolutely fabulous at creating atmosphere. So today's piece is called Puck. Now, not as in hockey puck, but as in the fairy Puck that we meet in Midsummer Night's Dream of Shakespeare. Now, Puck is in a fairy. He's a teeny tiny fairy, and he's got a sense of humor. And in some cases, it's really funny, and in other cases, it's annoying to people. So, or to, maybe not to people, but to fairies. So one of the things that he does in Shakespeare is to put a donkey's head onto one of the characters. The weaver ended up with a donkey head. So today's piece is just the atmosphere of Puck flitting around and having fun with having fun. So you will hear that I'm across a number of keys of the piano. It's in the key of E flat minor. So that's lots of black notes, but that's okay for me. We need to embrace every key. And every now and again, when he plays a trick, you'll hear accents going on, you'll hear suspense, and you'll wonder if, when he's pausing, whether that's a donkey you hear hee-hawing off in the distance. So here we have Puck by Edvard Grieg. And here we are. It is time for us to say goodbye again. We said goodbye to May so quickly. Let's look forward to June. I know in London, we're looking forward to warmer weather, and it's supposed to arrive today, so that would be lovely. Take care of yourself, and thank you so much for joining me today, for pressing like and leaving a comment. I do hope that as you watched today, you had floss, needle, and fabric in hand, and that as you stitched something beautiful, you stitched yourself happy. Until we meet again, bye-bye.